If you're into any kind of videography, photography, you have a video studio or a YouTube studio, then you probably know two things, or you should know two things. Number one, you should know how handy C-stands are. And number two, you probably know how much of a pain it is to try to store these things when you're not using them. They are long, they're heavy, they're a bit cumbersome, for good reason, because they let you get your lighting equipment or camera equipment or any other equipment up tall and reaching out far over things with the boom arms they usually come with. But what do you do with them when you're not using them? I find they're just hard to store efficiently and easily, mainly in small spaces. And I'm gonna show you where I store mine, because if we just go to the wide shot over there, let me put this down and let's turn on some extra lights. You can see, hang on, you can see that I'm once again in my slightly messy garage. It's not too bad this time, but I'm in here because this is actually where I need to store my C-stands because they are heavy. They're long. When the legs are folded, you have to try to lean them in a corner so they don't fall over. And yes, you could remove the legs on most C-stands, but then you have to store two pieces instead of one, and you have to reassemble it every time you want to use it. So I've actually decided to go up with them on the ceiling actually. Hang on, let me grab one. And as you can see here, I'm using another C-stand to hold the light that was lighting me up during that opening shot. All right, so here's a C-stand all folded up. And if you look right up here, I've got 3 hooks that are coming down from the ceiling so that I can just go like this. And store that right up there, and it's out of the way, and I don't have to get on a stool to do it. Now originally, hang on, I want to reposition this camera. So originally I actually had the hooks directly into the ceiling on these very common hooks that you get at any hardware store, and these work fine, but remember, these need to hit a joist in the ceiling, so don't just hit the drywall, you've got to find the joists. And remember, joists up there are about 16 inches on center, and you've got to hit the wood, the framing underneath the drywall, otherwise I can't be responsible for that falling down. Anyway, point being, I originally had them on these hooks, and that worked fine for a while, but because I've got 8-foot ceilings, it meant that with these all the way on the ceiling, I'd have to grab some sort of even small step stool, and I'm 6 feet tall, so I would have to get a step stool to get it off the ceiling, and you know, that got tiring. So to alleviate my step stool problems, first and foremost, I actually had to find hooks that didn't have this kind of drill bit style screw on the end, and I needed hooks with more of a bolt and nut situation so I could actually bolt it onto something versus having to screw it into wood, because I needed to get the hooks further down off the ceiling, so they needed to be mounted to something that was hanging off of the ceiling. And I could have done that with lumber and screwed this into a 2x4 or something, but I would have had to get that 2x4 lower. So instead, I redid that, and this time I went with 1/2-inch steel pipe from Home Depot. This is Schedule 40 steel pipe. It's very rigid, it's not going anywhere. And I took floor flanges and made them ceiling flanges. So the piece on the ceiling goes ceiling flange, the 1/2-inch pipe is screwed into it, and then I took a 1/2-inch cap and drilled a hole in it. This one does not have a hole, but this one here has a hole in it. So this hook actually has a bolt on the end. I'll put a picture of it up. So with the hole drilled in the cap, I could put a nut and a lock washer on the inside. Hang on, I'll just show you that. All right, so here's the finished end. We've got the hook that has the bolt on the end instead of this older one that had the pointed screw on the end. This one went away, and by drilling the hole in this end cap, got the bolt through, was able to put a nut and a washer down there and tighten that really well. So if we put it back together, we've got the floor flange, the 1/2-inch pipe, the end cap with the bolt secured to it. Screw it back in, and then I basically took and screwed the floor flange into the ceiling, making sure I hit joists. So I've got 4 3-inch screws going through the holes on the floor flange right there, going directly into the joist. So you can see here, I was able to line them up in this kind of like triangle shape. The joists in my garage go this way, so these two are in one joist. And then I was able to measure out and find another joist over there so that these 3 are all lined up. And then when we put a C-stand up there, you can see that these 2 capture the base and one of the legs right there, and then the other one is able to capture that end right there, and the whole thing sits very nicely on the ceiling. Again, in arm's reach without me having to stand on a stool, yes, in my socks and flip-flops, because hey, I'm at home, I'm filming in my garage. Get over it. But really, I think that's it. This can get expensive. Schedule 40 pipe is not the cheapest thing when you start buying multiples of these. And I actually sprayed it down with some truck bed coating because it's a little oily, so you have to clean off the pipe if you don't want oil on your hands. And then I would recommend spray painting it or putting some sort of coating on it just to dry it out and give you a little bit of a better, cleaner surface to work with. So 3 floor flanges, 3 however many lengths of 1/2-inch pipe you need to drop down from the ceiling, 3 end caps, 3 hooks, and obviously permission from either your landlord or your spouse to mount some stuff into the ceiling in your garage or in your office. I kind of want to do this in my office, and I probably will. It's a good place to store stuff. There's a lot of ceiling space a lot of us don't use, and I just thought I would utilize it so I can actually clean this place up when I need to do other things in here. So that's it. Just thought I'd share this, give it a try. See you later. This never fails. I hit record and someone starts up their leaf blower outside. I can't blame them. It's just kind of annoying. I gotta wait. Question is, does Isotope RX have a leaf blower sound removal? Possibly.